that's successful. And you can measure phone calls. Online, you can measure that. You know, we actually do that. We track, especially for paid search, you can track whether somebody calls from search. Whoops. And now, this last slide here. Now, the last thing is spreading the word, okay? Which years and years ago, what we used to do is we pick up the phone and said, gee, I got this great hair product and I love it. You should try it. You know, so basically word of mouth was the way that we communicated that next step. In the typical, it's advocacy. You know, somebody says, you know, I love that product. They do a testimonial. They have a commercial on TV, etc. On the internet, we call it today creating the buzz. So how are you going to get that viral message out there? Viral means that it just sort of picks up and starts moving on its own by seeding it in certain places. And that leads me to the next slide, which is intro to social media. Here we go on that last step of the buying cycle is, how do I now get my message and my product and my service to go viral? Okay? So first, here's a little idea of how conversation was basically back in 1949 and before. What the social scene was, the social marketplace, was people meeting at church, at business, at chambers, at social, you know, parties, whatever, and you talked. People actually talked to each other. They didn't just text, but they actually had conversations. They had a beer together. They sat and they chatted, and you actually talked to people. After 1950, however, many of us know that in 1950, the TV, you had TV, broadcast TV, and basically newspapers, magazines, and you had offline conversations, but you had what we call mass marketing. But the mass marketing in those days was basically what we said one way. In other words, the advertiser would take a commercial on TV and the mass market would see that commercial. And you might be sitting in your house watching that commercial, and it may make you get up and get that beer or go out and buy that car or whatever, or talk to your wife about it, but it was very local to whoever was sitting with you at that time. There was no conversation about the media. In other words, you can't talk back to the TV. It was one way. It told you something. If you wanted to do something, fine, but it was one way. So what happened in 2001? Well, now you started with two-way conversation. You started the conversational marketplace where you had blogs, you had Twitter, you have YouTube, MySpace, LinkedIn, Facebook, and now everybody's talking online. So the whole social scene has changed. It's never going to go back to the way it was. It is now out there. So either you're part of the conversation or you're not part of the conversation, but the important thing is the conversation is happening out there. Whether you're part of it or not, it's happening. So, now, traditional advertising is actually going down. Newspapers, most of them are closed at this point. There are hardly any newspapers still around. Not that that's a good thing, but that's the way it is. You're you know, putting an ad, let's say, you know, out in a you know, text type of ad. Those postcards, you know, basically snail mail. You know, basically the old traditional stuff. People just rip it up and throw it away. It's really a waste of money and it's still very expensive. So that's really going down. Whereas basically, viral marketing is taking off because people are spreading the word about different products, services, all kinds of stuff, and in different ways than we've ever had it before. The other thing that's happened in media is media has been fragmented. For example, people are getting their information in a variety of ways. No longer is it just TV, but now it's on your smartphone, and now it's on your internet, and now it's on your Facebook, and now it's on your Twitter. And you have ads coming at you in all different directions, but it's basically you generate where you want to be. So if you're on Facebook, you're going to get served Facebook ads. If you're on Google, searching Google, you're going to get Google ads. So I'm just saying that it's really fragmented on where are you today and how does that ad reach you today is really the issue. Now, a lot of this is merging together. So advertising, online, word of mouth, and offline. Offline today, we say, if you can afford offline, don't stop doing your offline. If you send out, offline, postcards and they work, all we're saying now is connect it to your website. Don't have an offline campaign and then people don't know where it goes, but have your URL there and let them go online and let the online thing take over and show them that at least that you had a postcard. And you say, okay, if you reached us from this postcard, here's the offer. So you connect up all your marketing, and don't forget to connect that offline marketing to the internet, because it all can help. It's all woven together today. So basically, social media is really the tools. A lot of people think it's something else, but it really isn't. It's the vehicles that are available to us today that we can help to collaborate. We share content, we share opinions, we share insights, we share experiences, we share media, and we also share our opinions about products, about services, and about business. So we really have the vehicles now, like Twitter, Facebook, to not only, like, share, not like, all of these things are designated to help us to really work with businesses as well. So it's not just for nothing, but it actually can be proactively getting us more business. Here's the types of vehicles you have. You have media. The media is text media. You have images, as I talked about before, audio, and video. And the tools that are out there are blogs. You have message boards, forums, podcasts, wikis today. Oh, we have it again. We have it again. I don't know what's going on with this. But it seems to work if you just do that. Did it work? Yeah. Okay. So, and you have the social networks like Facebook, etc., and then you have the question and answer services, which are fairly new, but getting more traction every day. So here's some tips that I created to sort of think about social media. Educate your management and organization about social media. This is mostly for the bigger organizations and I think this slide was made a while ago, and I think a lot of the bigger companies are actually embracing more social media than the smaller companies. JetBlue, all of these big companies, Best Buy, Walmart, these guys are really, they have teams of people working on social media today. So they have the money, and they're starting to really get that this is helpful. It's important, if you have a handbook, to also have a social media policy. When social media first came out with blogging and so forth, people even from Yahoo were actually divulging company secrets. You don't want that. I mean, you want a culture where you're sharing information, but there has to be a line about what you want to share online about your company. You don't want an employee, for an example, telling about some product that you're in development and that's secret. I mean, that would be stupid. It would be stupid for anything. So create a policy and talk about it with your employees and say, here's what's okay to blog about and here's what's not okay to blog about, and help them understand that. You have probably privacy policies with clients. You don't want that information out. So, you really need to educate them a little bit about that once it goes viral, it's out there, and it's out there for good. So you don't want that. Same thing if you have a personal profile, if your kids are on, the same thing with Facebook. You don't want to have things that shouldn't be on there. People need to get jobs, LinkedIn, you don't want bad things on there because employers look at this stuff now. So, you need a policy. Set clear goals for measuring success. Now, this is another thing. A lot of people say, I'm going to try social media, I'm going to blog. So what? What are you trying to accomplish? Do you have a strategy? Do you have a goal? How are you going to measure whether or not you're successful? Is your blog being picked up by 2 people? Is that success? Maybe it is. But what are your goals when you embrace social media, and which programs are you going to look at, and how are you going to measure whether you're effective? Now, this is a biggie because I think people don't understand that once you start social media, we actually work with a lot of clients, and there's the community management aspect.